going to proceed to 619 St. Mary's Road. And there is a non-co-op on this property. Mr. Adarkanoff, whenever you are ready.
Yeah, so we're not pursuing with a non-co-op. So I would like the panel to dismiss that note in the recommendation section.
Are you withdrawing the non-co-op or it's being confirmed?
I'm withdrawing it.
Right. And Mr. Neufeld, you're in agreement? Okay, no questions?
No issues. He informed us yesterday, so it was good.
You, Mr. Marks, did you have any questions in regards to this withdrawal? You're muted, Mr. Marks.
No, I have no issues with that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Duncan?
No questions or issues, thanks.
So have none. You would like to proceed with your brief, please?
Okay. So file number 222483, call applicant Colliers International, roll number 0800052750, address 619 St. Mary's Road, owners Randco Holdings Limited, roll year 2023, reference date April 1st, 2021, assessed value $877,000. It's an office building, number of buildings 1, 3 premises. Okay, 2-story, built in 2008. Zoning is C1. What else? Land area 4,883 square feet. Gross floor area is 3,941 square feet, and leasable area is 3,941 square feet. All right, so pages 2 and 3 provide the aerial and street view of subject property. It is an office building built by Randco Holdings. Randco Holdings, and it does resemble. It is a specific built specifically built for them. It does resemble a residential house. It was built for that purpose, to my knowledge, because the owners are in the business of residential house buildings. Okay. So, page 4, subject leases. It does appear that subject property is leased by St. Mary Law Limited, and the monthly rent is $4,000. As well as tax recovery there is also about it's 13,389. It looks like. Okay, page 5. Income streams. So we have one income stream, 3 premises, totaling 3,941 square foot. Provide a potential rent of $54,992. Vacancy loss is 6%, expenses 3%, shortfall rate of $8. Provide net operating income of $48,249. Overall capitalization rate is 5.5%. Provides the estimated value of $877,000. Okay, so it does look like there is a bit of discrepancy in the square footage. Again, what the applicant is seeking, as well as what we have. Just to clarify, we're using the entire building area as well for the calculation, which includes substandard basement, as you can see on page 5, and the rent applied there is $4.83. Okay. Page 7, comparables. We have basement comparables, which average $10.11 and $9.71 median, as well as above grade comparables presented that average 1669 and the 1511 is a median. With $12.18 minimum and $22 per square foot on the higher end. Comparables of the properties, pictures of the comparables that are used are on the following pages. And then page 20, cap rate table again. And following on page 22, income and expense mailer provided by the owner. Last page is a copy of the permit detail, 2008 permit. States that constructed two-story building, 2,771 square foot building, and it does say it's an office building there. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Neufeld, questions?
Yes, was this all by the model evaluation?
Yes.
Okay, and the basement in here is that the model that puts it in, or does somebody decide to put that in?
As far as what do you mean?
As far as being a leasable area.
Well, it is this. I guess the model wouldn't put it in, right? Model would provide a rate for it, but it would be part of the, I guess, property record.
And when it says substandard basement, what does that mean?
Well, that it is. It's exactly what it means. Substandard. So,
well, does it have its own separate entranceway to the outside?
Well,
if you haven't been there, have you?
No, I have not. So,
okay.
To be honest, like as far as the entrance, like all I can tell you that 1,173 square feet of substandard basement is part of the income stream.
And this was originally built as a house. Then I think you said that, didn't you?
It was built as an office. You can see it on the last page of my report. There is a permit, but I guess the design was to resemble a house. That is my understanding.
Yeah. Okay. The intent was to use it as an office, but it was built house quality. Then is that a fair way of saying it, or do you know?
You know, like the fair way to say it, unless you know for sure, would be that to read what page 28 says: construct a two-story, 2,771 square foot office building.
Okay.
Now that's like, could that office building more like resemble design of a house? In this case, it does look, when you look at it, it does resemble the house. However, without going to the plans and all the details, you wouldn't know, right? What kind of materials were used, whether it was falling under what building code was used too, right? So.
Well, right. Well, wood frame, is it wood framed?
Wood or steel framed exteriors, that's what we have, right?
Oh, you don't have
one, yeah.
You don't know which one it is then.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's what it's meant. Like again, as I said, like to get the very specifics of it, you gotta actually go through the building plans and the details of it.
No, I mean, and it does it have aluminum frame doors, or is it just wood doors like a house? Do you know?
Well, again, page 3 does kind of provide a picture of the door. Hard to say, right? Exactly what kind of door it is. Like.
Okay. If you don't know, that's fine. And the rent that the model had. Just my question here is, you list 3 premise IDs. So how many tenants are in this building?
Okay, let's see the question. I don't have that page open, obviously. Let's give me 1 second. Okay, so right now we have one tenant, so it is a single tenant.
So if your model was told there's only one tenant, shouldn't it have just come up with one premise ID, and wouldn't it be at a lower rate per square foot?
I totally agree with you that typically that should have been the case. I don't know why it is not the case in this particular situation.
Okay. Um, and this is called OFS, but it now since you're not sure the construction of it, I'm just wondering in your capitalization rates if you have a category that fits this sort of property.
Well, it is an OFS.
You put as OFS
because it has never been converted from a residential house into an office. It was built as an office to start with.
Well, it doesn't say it was built as an office. It was built for office use, not built as office, correct?
Well, let's go back to page 28. That's all I have right now, right?
Yeah.
Construct an office building.
Right. Okay. And does the city of Winnipeg, do they follow any standard for basement space or any measurement standard that you know of? Like BOMA standard or anything like that?
Well, I guess when it goes to for standards, there is a standard. It's I guess it's a city of Winnipeg standard, more or less. It's and it's not 100% BOMA standard.
Okay, now in the marketplace, then you've got rents that you're using. Were these done to BOMA standards?
Like
yeah, you've got comparable rents listed on page 7.
I see what you mean. So basically, those are the rents that are reported to us based on income and expense information. They don't specify whether it's BOMA standard or not.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan, questions?
Yeah, if you want to go to that permit on page 28, there's a couple of things that are referenced in here that makes it look like it was a house build used for office, even though what you read. So it's constructed under description 2-story, 277 office building with a 424 square foot attached garage for future tenant. So typically an attached garage wouldn't necessarily be connected to an office tenant, in my opinion. But that part, and then in the building information, under general information, it talks about rooming house, which is somewhat confusing. But at the same time, it's another reference to house versus office. So granted, it might be set up as an office, and obviously that's what it's saying, but it seems like there's definitely house residential characteristics. Would that be safe to say?
I would say that there is a column for rooming house, which is a standard column. It has no information by it. So rooming house doesn't apply. Same as demolition and removal. There has those things do not apply. It's just a standard form that is being used.
Fair ball. That helps explain that. And then the garage portion, like how many office buildings have a garage for future tenants?
No, absolutely. But we have to understand who built the house, this particular improvement, and this particular improvement was built for by Ranco Holdings Limited, and. My conversation with the applicant, well, not with Raki, with Ayrton, it was the understanding that they built those houses for their office and when, as well as kind of like a demo area. So when demonstration area. So when potential clients would go to their office, they would actually see in real life what kind of house they are about to build with this company. So that's why this particular construction is, I guess, built how I would see it is built for an office building, so it's commercial permit. However, the design they choose was for their specific needs, so it will resemble a residential house in a way, so potential customers would be there and see certain features that they're about to buy.
Okay, no, that's fine. And then my only other question is, again, I know the applicant had asked what you identified as substandard in this basement, and you weren't able to speak to that specifically as far as it's put into that. There's no pictures or there's no plans.
Yeah.
Is there an exterior entrance? What, is there windows? So do you have any other information on what that basement might be used for right now, if anything?
Well, I wouldn't know.
Okay, no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Marks?
Yes, have you visited the property?
No, I have not.
Okay, so it does have an indoor garage with the house?
Let me just see. Yes, there is a garage. Yes, it's a built-in garage.
Okay, that's good. Now, are the basement, main floor and second floor sprinklered?
Excuse me. Basement, main floor. What?
And second floor, are they sprinklered and hooked into a fire alarm system?
Oh, I see. I don't know.
Okay, if it is an office space and built for an office space, those things should have been put in the initial construction.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. I don't have the information whether there's sprinkles in there or not.
And there's none of that information on the permits?
Again, no, I don't think it's. Let me just pull up once, and I can quickly see, and hopefully some information will shed some light. No, I don't have that information readily available. I'm sorry.
Okay, is there any inspection reports after the building was completed? With you may have had some reports from whoever did the install on the sprinkler system.
No, I do not have information. Doesn't seem like there has been an inspection.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. So, Mr. Darkanoff, you've given the basement a rent of $4.83, correct?
Yes.
And the main floor, is that the 1173 also at 1933?
Let me just see. Yes. So basement and main floor, at 1173.
Okay.
And the difference is actually the garage area between main floor and second floor. The second floor does go over the garage area.
Okay, and that's at 1671, correct?
Yes.
Okay. That's all my questions. Mr. Sorry.
Me.
Proceed.
Yes. I just had two follow-up questions. The question of the sprinkler, doesn't it say at the bottom of page 28, not sprinklered?
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
okay. All right. And the other question was, the applicant is the contractor, correct? And that's Randall Homes?
Yes.
Have you ever seen Randall Homes build a commercial building?
Well, again,
If you don't know, that's fine.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, like the question is, have I ever seen it? So,
No.
like, is there a potential, right? Would they build an office for their sake that way? Like, so I guess that's
Okay, if you don't know, it's fine. I just wanted to ask. Thank you. That I just wanted to follow up with that.
Sorry, Mr. Neufeld, you could proceed with your brief.
Thank you. The assessor was fairly good on the facts. It was built as a display home for Randall, and this is their third building in this immediate area. They had one down the street, which was a conversion of an older house, and they built this one. It is built as a house, and the idea was, as he said, was it would be an office for them, and then also demonstrate to potential buyers the features that they could build. So it is house quality. Subsequent to this, they built at 80 St. Anne's, which is, I guess, just a bit. I always get my St. Anne's and Mary's up mixed up. It's a bit east of here, of this, and they built a much larger one, and that's the one that there was a 15-1 agreement on that you didn't get to hear today, and it was just a version of this house, just bigger. So after they built their new one at 80 St. Anne's, they put this up for lease, and first tenant was Fabutan, and right now there's a lawyer's office in it. But it is house quality, and I sent in as rebuttal the pictures of the basement and the upper floors. Now these are dated from the last tenant, Fabutan, when I was in there. The other thing that you'll see in rebuttal is BOMA's statement on when to include a basement, which is essentially never. We don't. That is the standard for realtors, appraisers, BOMA, because a basement's not rentable space. It can be storage area. It's still not included in your rentable area because it's accessory use. And as to the value of it, well, you'll note that in the previous one, when we made a point of it at the hearing, the assessor withdrew the basement as on the rental income, because these are, after all, converted houses. It does not have a separate entrance. You get it to it through the main house. It is not improved. There's no restrooms down there. There's a drum kit when I was there, and an exercise machine, personal goods that were stored down there. And one of the reasons it's like that, the original design, was then they could show their potential clients what the basement build out would be like. So you can see that it was done with I think it's 2x3 studs and some fiberglass insulation and some sheeting over top to show you what you would be getting in a new home. The current tenant, and I noticed this as well, that the error here on the statement, if you look at our page 3, top of 3 says that the taxes are an expense and the NOI is 48,000 less taxes. But then the rent roll says they recover the taxes. So I actually got a very, very quick response, and the tenant does pay the taxes. So obviously we're going to change our number because it was based on that statement that the landlord was absorbing those taxes. So I'm just going to add it back in, and I'm going to use a potential rent of $48,000. And with that, of course, I think you just bypass the entire argument about whether the basement is rentable or not rentable, because if you're using the paid rent, it covers everything. But it's not rentable. And the other reason why is when you're looking for comparisons, they won't have a separate basement rental. The very few we have are the ones that were built to rent as basement with separate entrances. And the assessor brought some that were kind of close to that as well. So that would just be the correction we have to make on that. And in doing so, my worry here is that if you think that the paid rent is appropriate, which it should be, do you do your shortfall based on the basement or not? Because you can't have it both ways, right? I think. So we're not going to do it. We're going to stick with the upper level space, which therefore does result in a higher value because the shortfall is lower. And with more square feet, your shortfall is higher. So the number I'm changing it to is 48,000 on potential income, and that works through to be 38,256 on NOI, and with the cap unchanged, 528,000. I think that's a far more appropriate number.
Belt, could you just repeat your NOI, please?
Yes, 38,256.
Are you using basement or no?
No.
Okay.
If I disagree with it, I can't use it, right? We're sticking with the market.
No, I'm just trying to correct my calculation.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what you are arriving. Yeah.
So that's 528,000 rounded. So that is the paid rent. There are it does work out on the upper levels at $17 a foot, and that is a little bit more than I would think. But this is I guess they're getting it, and they have been getting a number like this for quite some time. It's certainly better space than some of the other ones we've looked at today. But and I'm just looking at the assessor's number. So essentially, we are at the assessor's number if he didn't include the basement. So we don't have a dispute on the rental value of the upper levels. It's just whether or not the basement should be included. And then other than that, the vacancy and cap, and you've already heard my story on vacancy. It's the same all the time. On that, they're getting worse, not better. And the cap is, again, hypothetical. No one tracks converted houses. And we're still calling this a converted house because it was built as a house. The use was going to be an office, but it was built house quality, and that's the key here. It is wood framed. The doors are hollow core wood doors. The framing for the doors is still the wooden sash. There's nothing high tech or high durability for this. It's still plywood over I forgot the name of this, silent floor joists. Nothing has changed from a house quality. It creaks like an old house because that's what it is. And whereas an office, as I said before, would be steel framed, and you'd have a steel deck with a scratch coat of cement. Cap rate is then therefore somewhat hypothetical, as if it were a real property, and the issues on the location, the parking at the back. Now, one of the things about the parking is that as a 2,700 square foot house, for office use, they can get by with parking because you need 3 stalls. If you wanted to do retail use, you would need 12 stalls. So it just means that if you think this is a commercial building, then most commercial buildings have the ability to adapt. This does not, because it's going to have a parking limitation. And being on the residential side of the street, you're fairly certain that your neighbors are not going to allow it to happen either. It's because it's not in a dedicated commercial zone. It's surrounded by houses where people live. So those are the issues on it. And as to rents go, as to support for the rent, I think it's higher than what we're showing in the market. But again, our principle of sticking with the paid rent is the best evidence is the correct way. And as I mentioned, the cap was is purely hypothetical. As in the last building we heard, I think the real value is probably in its residential use, because residential is generating a better highest and best use than commercial right now. A house sells for more per square foot than office. It's really, really simple. That's what's happened to our market. So our number here at 528 change to that is 2768 is $191 a foot. This morning I ran sales in this MLS area, and they did come up at a higher amount than this. And I haven't sent them in because I think that's new evidence. And but what I'm trying to say is that if you considered, if you were going to sell this property, you're not selling it on the basis of the money it's making. You're going to attract a user or someone who sees the residential component as being worthwhile. And you'd have to spend a bit of money on fixing it up, because it's taken a bit of abuse being an office, but it's still going to generate a number that's better than this. And I ran, we actually had 58 sales in this section of Winnipeg. MLS is 2C, and there are even a number that were on St. Mary's, and I don't know where they ended up being here in my drive here. St. Mary's rebuttal part 2. That's it. So when I ended up looking at them all, they ranged from high end of 268 a foot, low end of 151 a foot. Oh, sorry, 138 a foot. And the strangest thing was the one at the lowest end was the only one that was actually on St. Mary's. But, the listing said it needed some work. And so we're not going to rely on a house that's clearly needs work. There were a number of Randall homes on here, which I thought was really kind of funny, but appropriate. Because you are dealing then with the same quality. The one I had been looking at was on Jaquette Bay, which is Randy's last name. And that was at I have to line up my numbers here. Was at $230 a foot. So that's a similar build house. And that works out to 600, and extended on our house works out to 636,000. And I'm just putting that forward verbally because I see a different highest and best use. So if you're treating it as an investment property, as an office, 528, if you view that, the market will decide this, then 636,000 is the answer. Regardless of how you look at it, basements don't count. They don't count in residential. They don't count in commercial. That's my presentation. Thank you. Oh, there was a rebuttal I do want to put forward for you to look at.
All right, I thank you. Mr. Darkanoff, did you have questions?
Well, actually, let's see. Rocky, he did quite an extensive presentation. I was trying to find the rebuttal, and I finally found it. So that does answer a couple of questions. There is a pictures of the basement of, it is a house for the most part, and so I guess one quick question, Rocky. So you do agree that highest and best use for this property is more or less residential, and better viewing it at 230 per square foot, right? Is that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's the way on the market. That's the way it would happen. You look at the pictures, and geez, I recognize those fixtures from Home Depot.
Well, but yeah, I see a point. I guess yeah, not the first analogy to me when I saw it. That it's not, it wasn't Home Depot, but yeah. All right. Anyways, yeah. So that was my question, and to be honest with you, I guess I'll just quickly state it later in my. I'm done with my questions. I'll quickly state it in my so the word left my head.
Information.
Summation, exactly. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan, did you have any questions?
Probably not of anything substantive related to this, although I am curious. I do not see an attached garage in the pictures, not on the front, not on the side. So
Yeah, it's underneath. It's actually inset into the house.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
I had to. I went back and Google Earth while Art was talking, and you can off the back lane, you can see it.
Yeah, I see it. I see it now. Anyway, it was more
Yeah.
curiosity than anything. Thank you.
Mr. Marks, questions?
No questions for me. They've all been answered. Thank you.
I just had one question. Like Ms. Duncan, I'm just curious. On the back side of the house, Mr. Neufeld, it's got, sorry, I'm just going to it. It has some sort of a little staircase going up to the floor.
Yeah.
Just-
That they had to do for fire, right? Because you got an occupancy on the second floor now, and it's not separately demised because there's no break in between. You can see from the pictures the stairwell on the first page, not closed off. No, I think it's just fire.
Right, I thank you. And again, just curiosity, was there any attempt to list this and sell this as a home?
I don't recall that it's ever been. I've seen it. I've been involved with them for over 10 years, and it's always been like when they built 80 St. Anne's. It's they've never had a thought to disposing of it.
Interesting. All right, I thank you. And you have rebuttal?
Yeah, well, you've seen the pictures of the basement. The other rebuttal, it's marked BOMA measure.
Yep, second from the bottom.
Right, and so what this is definitions of how you measure space, and I found this before. Well, this morning at 6 o'clock, I found it quite easily. They call this in BOMA occupant storage, and that's at the top of the second page. So the description. And occupant storage are generally located in floor levels that do not contain occupant area, such as basements, mechanical levels, and enclosed parking, contiguous to the occupant area and used by occupants for storage. Next paragraph, occupant storage is deducted from interior gross area in determining preliminary floor area. It's very simple. This is the way BOMA treats it. And the last page just shows you an example of and it's actually appropriate to ours because it has all the different things you can use. So this particular sample showed levels of floor, and and when you go to the bottom, you see the building totals. So the interior measure, which is basement and parking, 102,000. Then they took off for vertical penetrations, which are stairs and elevators. Then they took off for parking. So we've got a garage that was taken off. And then they took off for occupant storage, which is the basement area. And then you ended up with a preliminary area of 79,800 square feet. And that's what's deemed rentable. Now, this then is further set to 67,000 on your gross up. And what that means is They then subtract hallways and bathrooms from the usable area, but you still pay rent on them. But you do not pay rent on occupant storage area. So this is the appropriate measure, and our property managers have to follow this, appraisers follow it, and brokers follow it. And there's not a separate standard for other people. BOMA is the one everybody goes to. So you would never deem this to be rentable. And I think the way that it's set up would be, I'm not saying it doesn't add value to it, but the rent on the upper levels reflects the fact that you have some storage space below, which is why they're at $17 and not less. That's my presentation. That's what I wanted to say about that.
Hi, thank you. Mr. Adarkanoff, did you have questions?
Well, I guess not for the not about the rebuttal. No, I don't.
Ms. Duncan, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
And Mr. Marks?
No questions for me, thank you.
I also have no questions. Does either party have a wish for a summation on this property?
Yeah, I just want to quickly give a quick summary. Yeah, but well, we both presented our evidence about this property. To the most part, I would have to state that I do agree with an applicant in the case that this property, even in a sense that we applying the rent that is provided by the property owner is probably more appropriate in this case, but also because it's a house, overall valuation should also consider what it would sell as a house at the end of the day as well. So I would also agree with the applicant in a way that you have to look at both sides of the pictures. If consider both sides at least when you look at it, right? Is rent it is currently rented as a commercial space, but again, I would also for the most part agree that one of the bottom lines, using $230 per square foot, arriving at $636,000 is also a good baseline to look at it, what it would sell for at the market. That's all I had. Thanks.
Thank you. And Mr. Neufeld?
Well, that's the closest I'll get to a recommendation. Anyway, I think this illustrates what I said earlier. We see the bottom dropping, not the dropping out, but the value of commercial is slipping, and it's been happening for the last couple of years, and we all know why it's happening. And we don't think it's going to reverse. We just think it's the beginning of a trend. And in our business, the idea is when one stops working, you go shift to the other one. You're chasing the highest value. And the highest value now is residential, less affected by anything that's happened in the last couple of years. And that's why this is a viable alternative. And you've got the numbers. Thank you very much.
Thank you both. We will move on to 1099 Henderson Highway. And Mr. Adarkanoff, this also has 3 points of revision.
I think it does. Let's see.
What's the file number?
3274.
Oh, you got stepped on. 3274?
Yeah.
Okay. No, this was resolved. We had been working on this and it's resolved. So it's just the value only.
Do you want to confirm or withdraw?
Let's confirm this because I don't have, I always like to ask Jamie first. I'm too scared myself.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
If you would like to proceed.
I guess, yeah, I just want to get a clarification of what's happening with other points. Raki said he's confirming.
Sorry, I believe Mr. Neufeld is confirming everything but quantum.
Right.
Okay. So, okay, sounds good. Um, file number 223274, applicant Colliers International, roll number 0400. Okay, let's try it again. Too many zeros there. 0400003100. Address 1099 Henderson Highway. Owners Vintage Enterprises Limited. Have two classifications. So have classification code 60 taxable, as well as classification code 40 school with a school exemption. Total assessed value for both classification is $1,483,000, and the current breakdown is as such: like $1,171,000 is the classification code 60 taxable, and $312,000 is classification code 40 school exempt. Building built in 1976. One building with 3 premises. We have. Okay, so we have gross floor area 14,632 square feet, leasable area 7,059 square feet, and there is also basement area of 7,316 square feet. Zoning is C2 commercial. It's a masonry bearing wall building. Okay, so the subject property is located on the corner of Auckland and Henderson. What else is there? So it's a 1-story building. You can see pictures of the subject property on pages 2 and 3. So subject property, page 4 provides subject property leases. So that appears that it is a mix owner occupied as well as net leases as well. And information is provided there as to the net leases charged at $18.80 per square foot and $22.34 per square foot. Okay, so for income stream 1, which is 60 class code 60 taxable, we have 5,643 square feet total. 2 premises, one is at 4,437 square feet at $14.68 per square foot, and 1,206 square feet at $16.07 per square foot. Applying 6% vacancy loss, 3% expenses, and $8 shortfall. NOI is $74,352. Cap rate applied is $6.35%. Provides a estimated value of $1,171,000. Page 6, the other income stream. So this is income stream for the premise that has a school exemption. 1,416 square feet at $15.89 per square foot. 6% vacancy loss, expenses are 3%, and shortfall rate of $8. NOI $19,835. Cap rate 6.35. Estimated value $312,000. Page 7 summarizes 2 income streams together and provides total estimated market value of $1,483,000. Page 8 are the rent comparables within the within the close vicinity to subject property, and you can see rents being ranging from $14.25 to $22, with minimum with the average at $18 and median $18.38. I guess some of the comparables used are actual subject property, like comparable 1 at 201 Auckland is a subject property lease at 1881. And I think comparable 5, is it? Maybe not. Yeah, I think that's all. That's one. It was pulled together, but so following pictures provide pictures of the comparable properties used to provide the rents. Page 14 is a cap rate table, and pages 16 forward is income and expense provided by the property owner. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Questions, Mr. Neufeld?
Yes, the valuation, is this all by the model?
Yes.
Okay. And this property's got a basement, and yet in this case, it's not on here. What would be the difference?
Good question. I didn't dig that deep to find out the difference.
Okay. You haven't been in this property, have you?
No.
Okay. The calculations here, page 4, were the your calculations of the income for the sites. Now, I'm wondering if you were able to figure out whether or not these were net or gross. I know net is checked off, but in this case, the statement it differs from this, doesn't it? Because the statement appears to envision a gross lease, does it not? It says net, but they've put off their NOI as being less expenses. And do you know anything? Did you look into it at all?
No, I did not.
Okay. And Derek, that explains it. Okay, sorry. Your comparisons are they all office builds in the area? I'm familiar with some of them. I'm just I'm only looking for the first time right now, to tell you the truth. Isn't Bonner a brand new built or a new built site?
Oh, which one is that?
Number 2. That would be your highest rent.
Okay. No, I don't have it. What does it say there for the year built? Yeah, 2008, right? So it is a newer.
Yeah, and the rents do appear to be somewhat skewed towards an age issue. Oh, I know what I was wondering about this. So you've got 3 tenants in here, and no, it's fine. Sorry, in your rents, you don't have any. Oh, Dave, sorry, I'm running out of steam here today. Sorry. Those are my questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan?
No questions, thank you.
And Mr. Marks?
No questions for me. Thank you very much.
Mr. Darkanoff, I would just like confirmation from you in regards to into this page 6. You've got leasable area of 1416. Is that the music school, or is the music school the 1206 square foot?
Oh, I see. Let me get you an answer. Hold on.
I'm sorry, it says 40S.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, if it is 40S,
Yeah.
I believe. But before I answer, let me just almost there. So. Okay, so page 6, that is a music school. Yes.
And you did not inspect this property, correct?
No, I didn't.
And you don't know when it was last inspected?
Not right away, so I don't. Let's see.
And everything was smog, correct?
Excuse me?
Everything was smog driven?
Model driven? Yes, it is.
All right, thank you. Mr. Neufeld.
Thank you. So this building was been the same use for fairly long time. My first visit to it was in 1977, when Mr. Lowen was my dad's lawyer, and we went to see him on some real estate matters. So I've been in the building lots of times, and we began doing his tax work in 2002, roughly. My first real inspection happened then, and what's of interest is that there is a basement in the building, and there's a ramp. It was built with parking downstairs. The problem was that it was designed so poorly. Once someone parked their Vista Cruiser down there, and they had an engine repair requirement. So it sat down there for about 15 years because they couldn't get it back out. Eventually, I think they cut it up and dismantled it. And the last time I was in there, which was 5 or 6 years ago, they were using it for the dead paper storage because the ramp had shifted, and there's this it was like about an 8-inch drop off the concrete from one level to the next, which is why you couldn't get cars in and out anymore. At that point, when we brought it to the assessor, they did take it off the roll because of it. It was obsolete space. The main tenant, being the law office, is the owner. The Tauber Music School is the owner's daughter, well, actually, his son has taken over, so the owner's sister. So that's not an arm's length deal, whereas the other tenant, LD, is an arm's length deal. The space that LD it's a gross lease, and I know this for certain because I've helped them fill out these forms, and this is the signature on it is Derek. And he made a mistake on these forms. And to be fair, he makes pizza for a living. He's not an accountant. This is a gross lease. The number, and I had just decided was calculating it here for LD. I came up at 1073, and the person who did this came in at 1065. So I think that's a fair number for a paid rent in the building, the only real paid rent, and that would be applicable to. We just applied that to the whole site. And some of the other comps we looked at was a very similar style of building, similar vintage, although it had a first and second floor at 1750 Main across the river, almost directly. And several units in that building were between $9 and $13 a foot. And we did look at some of the others, and just a note on our rents. I know the assessor's taken exception to them, but these have all been reviewed, and we know that them to be net. And if we find mistakes on it, would readily admit to it and change it as we have. And that's the nature of value. I'm not going to stick to a number that's wrong, but we know that these are right. These are ones that are we either manage or have done the deals in, and or have direct contact with ownership. So that's what we're using for the rent, and the same concept on vacancy. This was vacant for a long time. The one office LD had been vacant for 10 years in a row at one time, and the owner just didn't care. But now that his son has taken it over, he's making the effort to taken over the real estate, that is, not law practice, taken over the effort to get some revenue being generated out of the sites. When the lease was set up for the daughter's music school, I assisted them with establishing the rent because they wanted to make sure it was market value on it. And so that's why I have a great comfort level with these numbers, because we help them set it up. Other than that, it's the same as all the rest, the same approach we've used. Cap rate is probably a little bit more aggressive than some of the other ones we've used, because one of the things about this is that I think that even though the rent is where it's at, there might be an upside to the rent if they could put some capital into it. The inside of the law office is tired, very tired. It's vintage 1976 construction. which was hasn't changed since the first time I stepped through the doors many years ago. They haven't spent a nickel on it, and I think that there's a potential to get more rent if they put capital in it, but that's if they put capital in it. That's not, you get it automatically. So that's what we would call a cap rate upside. Normally it would be capped higher than that, but it has that potential. Other than that, it's small. The setup and layout on it is not that bad. The parking is an issue, and I think they made a mistake on their. That's another mistake they made on their form. I blame Derek for that. Is he said that they had parking stalls indoor and outdoor. Well, he can't use the indoor ones, and he says he's got 2 outside. As a result of all their problems, if you look at the picture on our page 1, there's a lot immediately east of it on Oakland. They own that as well. So they had to buy that when their access to their indoor parking became obsolete and began parking there. So they own the parking next door. They do have a bit of a problem with property and planning on using it, but you can see on our picture on page 2, they have cars in it. So it's working for them. So access to parking is there. So that's one of the reasons why this numerical calculation came at 7.5. And when the person who wrote this asked me about it, I explained the parking. So he dropped it down to 7.25. I think that's a fair number. The ratio of the 40S is 21%, and we didn't break it out for you, but we agree that 21% ratio. So at our 828, that would be Class 40S at 165,000 and 60T at 663,000. The previous year assessment, I should mention, is under appeal, and it has never been historically that high. That's my presentation.
I thank you. Mr. Darkanoff, questions?
Yes, just a second. I just wanted to check the appeal. So, Mr. Neufeld, did you say that the previous appeal is under appeal? Previous assessment is under appeal?
Yeah, I believe so. I'd have to double check that. Why do you have that in front of you?
I had it as it wasn't appealed, so I'm just trying to check whether it has been or not. Maybe I just made a wrong note to it. But
hey, let me just see what I've got here. Victor, no, Derek. $10.99. Oh, you're correct. I don't know. I guess I didn't appeal it. Oh, I don't know. I thought I had.
And my next question. So it's not under appeal, correct?
Oh, no.
Okay. So my next question is, from what I understand, you're saying that the rents that are provided are gross rents, right?
Yeah, they are gross, and I think that's why I was thinking about this, because it was the same problem we had with the last one where he wrote his mailer up wrong.
Mm-hmm. And again, so because they're gross, and there is obviously, you did is it like
Well, I got to tell you, I'm sitting here thinking about it, and I think the rents are underperforming. That was my first instinct, and I think paid rent is something that is in place, and you can't do anything about it. But what you can do is anticipate that in the future they can go up. So perhaps our cap rate should be a little more aggressive as well.
Yeah, that was my sin. Like you gotta like look at it either at a cap rate or
Right.
at the rent.
Yeah,
So
no, and I
one-
agree with
one
you.
way or the
I
other.
think even the 725 is a bit too high. You know, I can't put anything starting with a 6 on anything. I'm just opposed to that, but I definitely think it should be capped lower. I wouldn't, how would I say this? I wouldn't necessarily disagree with a lower cap rate. But it's the same thing. If you have a high rent, you got to have a higher cap because there's no upside.
Exactly. So it's either like you have to look at it in a way that address it either on a cap rate side or at the rent side, right? Like
Yeah.
so that's basically where I'm at. Like, okay, so basically, yeah, those are all. I guess those would be. So okay, actually, no, a couple more questions. So interesting point you brought forward about the basement. I did not know it. So the basement right now is basically used for storage. Is that correct, or something like
The
that?
last time I was in there, there was some boxes of paper in there,
Okay.
dead storage,
Yeah.
and that's what it was being used for. And I think it was from a variety of their family businesses.
Mm-hmm. Okay. No, I guess no. Those are all my questions at this point. Thank you.
Oh, there was another thing. I said it was original. No, a portion of the building was rebuilt because somebody drove a car into the corner of the building a few years back.
Okay. And would that affect actually now? If I may ask another question then about it, since like, did that affect the overall like condition of the building? Like, did they
No.
actually renovate things or?
No, it was there was no tenant in at the time, so it really didn't have any impact whatsoever.
So, but they did renovate it like using newer materials and.
Well, yeah, I just want to be truthful when I said it was vintage. It's they did have to rebuild a section of it where the car hit it.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you can see it now on the. It's actually the south side. When I'm looking at the pictures.
Okay. All right. No, those are all my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan, questions?
No questions, thank you.
And Mr. Marks?
And none for me, thank you.
So Mr. Neufeld, are you suggesting then the rent for the LD builders should be 1065 also? Wanted to be.
Yeah, we had applied this. I lost my page here. Yeah, we had applied the same rent for the entire site. The LD Builders is at well, I figured 1073. Person who wrote it put 1065, so we're a couple of cents different. And then we just applied the LD Builders rent to the entire building.
Right. And just to confirm your numbers again, you had 663,000
Right.
for the tax portion and 165,000 for the school exempt.
That's correct.
Thank you.
May I ask one more question? Are those numbers after you adjusted the caps or before?
Oh, before. I didn't adjust them just like you. I just said I wouldn't be opposed.
Yeah. Okay.
21% school exempt.
All right. Does either party wish for a summation?
Yeah, I'll just yes, I'd like to do a quick summation if I can. So I guess after discussion, I think like what we can see, like what I see is I think we have to look at what our rent in the area would be when we look at the potential rent of this property, and then apply those values in calculating the potential rent, as well as looking at I guess information presented to apply other parameters such as expenses and the shortfalls and cap rates to arrive at I guess capitalized value. So my strong point is, and we've discussed it with Raki already, just want to stress it out, is that it does appear that original presentation by the applicant seemed to be aggressive on the cap rate side as well as on the rent side. So looking at the market evidence would probably be more appropriate, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Neufeld?
I think, what we try to do here is to try to come to something that's reasonable, and I don't prepare these reports anymore, but the problem with forgetting about paid rent is that you're dealing with a situation that you can't change. We do have one tenant who's at paid rent. We do have a rent to a relative of the owner that can't be changed because it's registered and it's based on the paid rent. So we have a situation where if somebody did come along and buy it, they're going to inherit these rents. And if there is an upside, the answer is not change the rents, because you're doing an impossibility. It's legally not permissible. But what you can do is look at capitalization and say, down the road, I have an upside. And in this case, I do believe that because there's an upside, that you could look at this more aggressively. Funny thing is, I don't do these, but I happen to know that the building across the street rents at $11 office. And I know I'm bad of me to enter that as evidence, but I don't think there's anything really wrong with the rents. I just think that there's an upside. So if this were ever a case for where you would look at the paid rents and use the assessor's cap, this would be one of them. And that's what I would say would be a reasonable answer. Thank you.
And thank you. And at this time, we are just going to have a short 5-minute recess. I would like to call this meeting back to order. And we are proceeding to the last item on the docket, which is 1967 Henderson Highway. And Mr. Adarkanoff, whenever you would like to begin.
So file number 22-2337, Colliers International is the applicant. Roll number 040072558815. Address 1967 Henderson Highway. Owners 6172874 Manitoba Limited. Roll year 2023. Reference date April 1st, 2021. Assessed value $1,988,000. So it's number of buildings 1 with 3 premises. Actual year built 2016. Wall height 13 feet. Zoning C2. Okay, so what do we have here? So we have plan area 3,265 square feet. Basement area is also 3,265 square feet. Gross floor 9,560 square feet, and leasable area 6,295 square feet. Okay, pages 2 and 3 provide aerial and street view of subject property. Page 5 shows income workup, and what we have here is we have 2 premises. A premise with leasable area 4,775 square feet at $19.70 per square foot, and the premise with 1,520 square feet leasable area at $21.33 per square foot.
Yes, Mr. Adarkanoff, could you move your mic just slightly upwards?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So do you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, $21.33 per square foot is for premise number 2. So that gives us a potential rent of $126,490. Using 6% vacancy loss, 3% non-recoverable expenses, and $8 shortfall per square foot. NOI is $112,312. Cap rate applied is 5.65%, which provides an estimated value of $1,988,000. Okay, so page 7, comparables that are used to support the assessment. Okay, so again, like minimum $12 a square foot, maximum $22 a square foot. Average and median is $16.97 and $17 per square foot. I did use the comparable number 3 at $22 a square foot. It is a higher one there. We've just discussed it, that it probably and Rocky mentioned that it is a gross rent. So I would ask the panel to cross that one out from here as not a good comparable to be used. Okay.
Sorry, which one was that?
3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So what else is here? Next pages provide pictures of comparables that I used. Page 15 is a cap rate table, and income and expense by the owner follows on page 17. So that's all I have, and I am open to your questions.
I thank you, Mr. Neufeld.
So page 5, all by the model.
Yes.
The area you're using is 6295 for rentable. The owner on his form has indicated an area of 5450. And then further on is that's on your page 17, and then on your page 19, he then lists the 2 units, one at 1520 and the other 39. Can't read that, 3930. What's wrong with the owner's number?
Okay, well, for the like I guess based on the information we have about it, it's all of the companies are related companies. Hence, it has been reviewed as a single tenant and entire footprint of the building. Well, not entire footprint, but the leasable area per plans has been utilized.
Sorry, was this search in your documents today?
No, I'm answering your question.
Okay.
It's not provided in the documents, but it is part of the notes that I saw.
Well, they indicated on page, I see. Okay, now I know where it came. On your page 17, they do state they're partially owner occupied, and then on page 19, they state they are owner occupied Irwin homes, but the other two tenancies are not. And that's what I would, and why would that even relate to the rentable area?
Well, anyways, just to clarify, based on the, I guess, first of all, like Irwin Home is owner occupied, and the other tenants are related companies to Irwin Home, and they share ownership. So that is the information we have about it. Second of all, about the
sorry, who provided that information? Because I'm fairly sure I was there, and that's not what they said.
Okay, that was done based on a company search, so registered company search.
Can you just pause 20 seconds? I have to grab my file. Hey, I'm referencing it, and I guess you were the assessor who brought that in prior, weren't you?
Perhaps yes.
Okay.
If that is the last time around.
I don't know. I don't see anything in the documentation about these being.
Yeah.
And as I recall, the statement made was that they did business with each other, not that they were same ownership.
I'm just looking at the notes here.
No.
So company search for Irwin Homes Limited, Gateway Point Limited, Partnership, Gateway Point, GP Incorporated, 711-0821 Manitoba Limited, 6387544 Manitoba Limited, 6077561 Manitoba Limited, all have Coop Andrew under officer information. So they are related companies with under the Coop Andrew.
As an officer, about a shareholder.
As an officer.
Just an officer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, that aside, how could that possibly reflect on the way you measure space?
Okay, now let's get back to the space measurement. Now it is considered as a single tenant company, and single tenant companies would the space is measured based on the outer footprints of the leasable area.
That's what standard are you quoting from?
City of Winnipeg policy.
Okay, now, does BOMA do it the same way?
BOMA is a bit different, but City of Winnipeg doesn't 100% adhere to BOMA when it comes to a single tenant company, single tenant buildings.
Now, when you do this form of measurement, and you decide to include all the, you're then including vertical penetrations, the stairwells, the elevators, everything else, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And what are you comparing it to in the market? What are your comps? Are they measured the same? Are your comps
Well, again,
measured the same?
you asked me this question before, and I said, like, we get on the market, we get comps from income and expense mailers. They do not specify whether they're BOMA standards or any other standards. Or however they are measured. They provide the information like this is a square footage, this is a rent, right? That's basically those are the comps. So do we have information whether the comps are 100% BOMA measured? No, we do not.
Okay, well, comp number one is my client, and he did a BOMA measure.
Okay.
I know that. So why would his rent then be relevant if it wasn't measured the same way? What do you know what the variance on the gross up is?
Well, let's answer the question. So did that person provide a leasable area? The comp number one is your client. So did he provide a leasable area?
And it was used and applied.
Yes. So what we have there is 1490 lease area is a leasable area that is going for $20 a square foot. So then that leasable area is applied to the leasable area of the subject property.
Well, no, I mean, in that particular case, and I'm just looking at it right now, the gross floor area of 2536 Main is 12,000 square feet. The leasable is 8,982 square feet. So what we're talking about here is a gross up of over 3,000 square feet that is not being considered leasable. And now you're using the same standard of measurement that these people used on one where you're not using it the same way. How could it possibly be accurate?
I see what you mean. Yeah. In a sense, again, the policy that is in place, I just stated, I guess it's when it comes to BOMA measurements, as you have stated, things perhaps should be reviewed, apples to apples or oranges to oranges. But again, it's then the information has to be provided in a form that it's a BOMA or not a BOMA measurement. Would you agree with me on that?
Yeah, I mean that's the way to do it. Is if you're going to change your styles of measurements, then you've got to then you have to do the gross up calculation and figure out how much that is for everyone. So, for example, I've already said that 12,000. So that the gross up on that one is say 3,000 feet on 8986, 33%. So the rent then should be 33% lower. Your rent should actually be stated, if it was measured the same way, at $13 a foot. Because now you're including the area, the common area, into the equation.
No, I see what you mean, right? Like, I'm not here to argue whether it's whether it's a gross up, common areas, and so on. And I guess we did discuss it. Now I'm getting a slight recollection. We did go over it a couple of years ago with this thing. But yeah, at this point, yes, I'll probably just stated. So I guess so. Sorry, I think we got off the track. What was the question? I just wanted to did I answer it or not?
Well, I mean, we had a good discussion, I guess, and now I contacted Mr. Coop afterwards, and I asked him this question, and he says no, he's got no interest whatsoever in these companies. He was listed as an officer, but he has no ownership. Now, wouldn't that be the issue? Is that you should be looking at the ownership? I mean, that's like saying if I own stock in Air Canada that which I do, that I'm a part owner of it, and I get to call the shots when it comes to getting on the plane, right? They don't let me do it.
Well, I guess if you compare it to Air Canada, but I don't think it's a good comparison because
No,
it's
I was being
but
silly.
yeah, exactly. But what I'm saying is like here, like what we have on record is when you pull the company title, a company search for, you get one of the officers listed as Andrew Coop. You pull another one, Andrew Coop. So that's the standard city application is if there is a common owner, I guess, same person who is an officer or owner of the businesses, then they're treated as same. And on the other hand, like, so he is Andrew Coop, he is an officer in all of those companies, correct? Then the next question would be, if he doesn't have any interest or control over those companies, why are those companies doing in the same building, right?
Well, that's I mean that doesn't relate to the concept of measurement, and you are aware that this is owned by a builder, Irwin Homes, and they are familiar with measuring. You would be aware of that, wouldn't you?
Well, I'm not gonna argue with that.
No. So he has filled out the measurement, which is the standard, the BOMA standard, and you're saying you're not gonna. The city's saying we're not going to use it in this case. Fair. That's pretty much where it's at, right?
Well, I guess the city is applying single tenancy policy on it, and that's how it is. And so, which areas did he fill out? Like, I didn't get it. Is that on page 19?
Yeah, page 19. He had filled out that he is the owner and he has not 3,930 square feet, and then there's a tenant who has 1,520.
And why would 1,520 be listed twice?
Oh, a tenant was replaced. See, the term ended and then a new tenant moved in.
So we have one tenant made 20.
It's the same unit. See unit number 2.
Okay, I see. Okay. No. Again, as I said, Rocky, like we are treating it as a single tenant occupancy, and I stated the reason why, because there is, I guess, common names for the officers of the companies, and BOMA standards, of course, they have the regulations how to do it, but City of Winnipeg does use modified BOMA, and in this case, they do not quite see eye to eye. So that's my answer, I guess, to your question.
Okay. And your, I was looking at another one of your comps, 755 Henderson. Are you aware, or like what? Sorry, not aware. Which tenants are you using as your comps? You've listed 2 in that building.
Okay. Let's see. Right.
It's getting nice inside. Getting nice inside. That's fine.
So which 755 Henderson, we have Winnipeg Dental Implant Center as well as Workington Homes.
Okay, and who owns that building? Do you know?
Don't have that information right away. Yeah. Do you?
Active Builders owns it, right?
I don't have that information.
Okay. So did you check out the relationship between Workington Homes and Active Builders?
No, I did not.
Okay. You're aware that they work together?
Like what level of work are you referring? Like,
are
they own together? As they owned? Is there common ownership? Is there common officers, or
I'm just
they
saying,
just
are
work
you
together?
You're aware they work together?
Well, perhaps.
Okay, and now Winnipeg Dental Implant. Well, have you been in that building, in that space?
No, I haven't.
Are you aware that it's a fully equipped surgery?
Okay.
Would they administer anesthesia and they do operations?
Okay.
Do you think renting that space might cost a bit more money than running an office to build homes?
Well, I guess yeah, I would agree with you on that one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, your other rent, 201 Oakland, isn't this the building we just finished talking about? Had an appeal?
Oh, did I say ignore number 3? I meant ignore number 9.
Oh, okay, good. I was wondering where you were going with that.
So do not ignore number 3, ignore
Okay.
number 9. Oh boy.
Well, you could leave it in and just put the right number on it. 1065 or something. You thought it was a good comp then. Why would you think it's a good comp now? Okay, I think those are my questions.
I thank you. Ms. Duncan, questions?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Mark?
None for me, thank you.
And I have no questions. Mr. Neufeld, if you would like to present your brief.
This was the purpose for building this was as an office primarily for Irwin Homes, and then they had some space left over that they rented out to a company they work with. I asked Andrew a while back what his involvement was. He says he's not arm's length from them. They run their own show, and he's had and they're paying what he believes to be market. And I mean, I understand that there's some linkage in them and having worked together. So it is worth considering. But I think the more important point here is not to do with whether their rent's valid or not. It has to do with the way you measure a building. You don't arbitrarily decide that it's going to be what the city's calling a single tenant rental situation, because truthfully, those don't exist. BOMA does not say we will do a single tenant, we'll ignore the stairs and we'll ignore the elevator and we'll ignore these areas and measure differently. What they do, and I've already gone through this information with you, and it has been submitted, is that there's a standard that they adhere to, and it's important to adhere to it for a variety of reasons. The biggest being is you can't use a comp from a BOMA measured building against one that's not a BOMA measure, because you're ignoring the gross up. Now, a gross up is, to repeat myself, is the amount of common area that the tenants get upcharged for. So in this case, we have two users, tenants, and they are tenants who are occupying 5,450 square feet. And there is another, the total being, the city's calling it 6,295. So they are splitting up the common area and taking their share of it, but they're not taking the stairwells and I don't even know if there's an elevator in here. I'm gonna look at the roof. No, it does not look like there's an elevator, but it's the stairwells that are taken out of the equation. So the builder knows this, and the builders makes commercial buildings as well as residential and multifamily. And we do a fair amount of work for them, and this has just been the same standard as every building in the city, and that means you can compare your rental rates better by doing it that way. And so this is a problem, and I think that this is under appeal from the last cycle, and that's really the issue here, is that you can't have different standards. And I'm glad to hear the assessor understood the importance of using the same standard of measurement. And the one comp that he actually had a 33% gross up. We talked about a gross up earlier in the day at 605 Desmuron, another huge gross up building. And so that is the central issue here. As to the rental rates that we applied, I have been trying to figure out how these were calculated in our office, and for the life of me, I don't know. Because I'm looking at, if we accept the $1,111 monthly rent, I'm and call it gross, I'm getting a number that's like extremely low. So I believe that's probably a net rent, I believe, but I don't think we have enough information to figure this out, with the exception of, well, unless he's using 28. No, he's not. So the math doesn't make sense, and I don't think we should rely on it. Instead, we should be looking at some of the other rents, and we've heard some rents from different properties submitted today. We've got a list of rents that are included in there, and the assessors brought in some, and I'm kind of lost at this point what I would do. I don't think we should be applying anything, the rents that were listed here. See, the person who did this calculated on page 3 that I really don't understand this. I think this is probably commensurate with better quality office, and the best example I think we have, even though it's in another part of town, is 850 Pembina, and not the $17 one, because that was a forced relocation, but the $15 rents, and I would probably just apply that to the whole building, and I think that's more reasonable to do. And I hate doing this, making changes. Makes it look like we don't know what we're doing. I tend to look at this as a 2-step review process. The second step is being done in front of you.
So you're going to change the quantum on this, Mr. Neufeld?
Yeah, I think that that's reasonable. To do so, and I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm just opening my automated. First of all, you have to use the BOMA measurement, because every building we're going to use as a comp was done that way. So it's, you got to use the same standard of measurement. So I'm just thinking out loud here that that we should be looking at least $15 a foot overall on it, and I'm just changing that right now. So that leads us to a potential rent of $81,750, and the vacancy is the same way we calculated it, and so are the non-recoverables. The shortfall is based on very high taxes, and taxes are the highest component of the shortfall. They should never be a fixed rate like the city does. They should be, they should float with the value of the building, with the rental value, because you can't have a building with very high taxes have the same shortfall as one with very low taxes, and I'll put it in a model. It's incorrect. Everything else is expressed as a percentage except the shortfall rate, and that's incorrect theory, I believe. The NOI is 63,983. And I knew that. So there's the person who did this on quality and condition changed, put an adjustment on it, and I don't think that's appropriate being new. So I was just going to change the cap to 7%. It seemed to be on the low side. So that round comes out to 914,000.
All right, I thank you. Mr. Darkinoff, did you have questions?
Oh, just a couple of quick questions, I guess. So, I guess, so you're trying to use the building on like your best comparable is 850 Pembina. Is that what?
Yeah, in terms of quality, that it would be the one that we have in our the rents for that I would think is the strongest example. And I'm just taking a look at some of the other asking rates from the other buildings, and it's wow, I'm relatively consistent. I'm looking at my page 16 and looking at the asking for suburban A, and I see 1350, 1515. And the B's, the bank asking 20 at Harrow East, the surgery asking 20 at Henderson, the surgery, Lorimer asking 22, Clarion asking, no, that's the next one, 257 Osborne. Well, that'll never rent. Clarion asking 15. So I think we're in the range there.
Okay. So 1850. So you are seeking 15. Is that the one that I had on my rebuttal that the actual rent there is $17?
No. That's the one where you mistakenly believed it was that because you only used the rent rolls and you didn't use the statements. There's a significant non-recoverable related to an expropriation matter that is bringing the rents down and relocation costs. So it is actually paid rent is $15. And if you pull the statements, you could see it in the statements.
Okay, let's see. Well, I have the statements in my rebuttal evidence on page 5, right? So
the statement? No, you had the rent roll.
Okay, I see. Well, but that's what they provided, anyways.
Well, just one.
Yeah, so, no, that's basically, I guess, as far as questions go, that would be all my questions for now. Thanks.
I thank you, Ms. Duncan. Ms. Duncan?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Marks?
No questions for me, thank you.
I also have no questions. Does either party have a wish for a summation?
Yeah, I'd like to do a quick summation. I guess for just flip to the right page here. Okay. I guess to the most part, I would agree with the applicant that for subject property, like we need to address the rents. I think, and I'm glad that he did say that it should be at least $15. I am of the opinion that it should be slightly should be higher than that, based on the comparables provided. It should be at least 15, but not. But that's if we are to use $15, then we have to address other things in the cap rate on the cap rate side to be more in line. But because there is evidence to support higher rents for the newer buildings, for example, the comparable number 3 that I almost crossed out, it's $22 a square foot rent for 2008 building, similar to what subject property is. And other than that, like that's basically my presentation, my quick summary about it. Like we still stick with the city's, I guess, vacancy and shortfall rates, as well as non-recoverable expenses and cap rates. Thanks.
I thank you. Mr. Neufeld?
Yeah, just referring to 2 pieces of rebuttal information. The assessor asked me about his page 5 rent roll, and I guess he closed off before I could answer. But the point is, you should probably take a look at it when I said they're gross leases, because you'll note that the recovery costs vary on each of the tenants. One pays taxes $257, one pays $526, and the other pays $1.83. And they're all the same class. So everyone's on a different rate. We know how to figure I'm not saying that the wrong way. We know this property because we manage it, and we've given you the actual net rates. It's not simply give you a rent roll. And of course, then the other thing on the rebuttal is the BOMA information. And when I went through how a building is calculated for area, you subtract they showed the parking area. Okay, there's none in this building. You subtract any storage, there's none. But then you subtract the stairwells. There's 2 sets of stairwells that they don't count in the area. And if there's an outer foyer, and I've forgotten if there's one in this building, to tell you the truth, that does not get counted. The owner is a builder who knows the standards, and he measured his building and he applied the standards. So those numbers that he's done are professional numbers. They're not guesses. This is the way any property manager would do it as well. If Colliers managed it, we would measure it the same way. And all the rents come from properties that are managed like that. I showed you the evidence of 2536 Main, 33% gross up. That means that if you're doing it the way the assessor is suggesting, you could have a 33% error in rent up to that if you're relying on that. And that's not how you do things. You compare your rents to your property as long as they're measured in the same manner. That $20 rent, if it was measured in the same manner for 2536 Main, is $13. And then that's what should be applied. I made a change because, I thought about what the assessor said, and they are related. They work with each other. That's the key issue. And but mostly the statements just didn't look like the numbers added up. And I think anyone could see that. We looked at $15, which was a very good building in the south part of town, as well as the Johnson report had, I believe, 8 out of the 12 buildings listed are asking $15 or less in the A and B class. So that's a reasonable number. And the capitalization rate is representative of, this is still not an investment building because it's too small, but hypothetically that would be a good number to apply. And thank you for your time today.
I thank you both for your briefs today, your time and patience, and all the items on the docket have been heard, and this hearing is adjourned.